Well, the Denver Broncos did lose their starting right tackle for at least the next 4 games by putting Mike McGlinchey on injured reserve, but we dodged a major bullet and got some great injury news about a player who I have very high expectations for. We're getting even more good news about injuries happening at Tampa and them being shorthanded in some key positions, and some other good news about injuries around the AFC West, as well as some signs of life for this Denver Broncos offense changing and actually being able to move the ball. We're going to break all that down and a ton more in this video. And if you like the Denver Broncos, it helps me out a ton if you would like and subscribe to this video. So the big good piece of news was that the Denver Broncos elevated Dondrea Tillman, the UFL star who we talked about ad nauseum, who was like the defensive MVP for that entire league and was just busting through double coverages all season long. And a lot of people were saying that they were elevating him because they were going to put Baron Browning on injured reserve, meaning he would be out the next 4 games. I have thought for a long time that our defensive pass rush is one of our deepest areas. To have Cooper, Bonito, Ellis, and Browning is like a scary 4, and we've seen them be scary throughout these first 2 games, pressuring offenses, and because our offense hasn't put up numbers, they haven't had to throw the ball, but in situations where they would have to throw the ball, it would be a problem. So losing Browning for 4 weeks would be a huge blow, and we luckily dodged a bullet, and Browning hasn't even been ruled out officially for this next game. There's a lot of rumors. Mike Klis was on a radio spot where he thinks that Baron Browning might miss 2 weeks, but not big enough to be that full 4-week injured reserve. So that is great news for our defensive pass rush, which, knowing that we're going up against Baker Mayfield, who got sacked 5 times on Sunday, that's just fantastic news that we're really counting on Ellis to step up. He already had his first sack in the NFL, which is crazy for a rookie. We've seen huge flashes out of Cooper, and we really need to see Bonito come out and make a play. Vance Joseph raved about him all offseason, and I'm very excited about what Dondrea Tillman is going to look like in his first couple snaps. We spent a lot of time this offseason just talking about what he can be, but just taking a look here at him just blowing up cut blocks and getting past 2 right there to sack in the backfield. His tape is just phenomenal to watch, the relentlessness with which he fights through blocks and gets in the backfield. And so I'm very, very excited to get a chance to see him without missing Browning for 4 weeks, because I think if you look at when Miami dropped 70 points on us, part of it was we were missing Justin Simmons and Baron Browning, and our defense looked totally different when Browning was back. I think Cooper has stepped up, and I feel way better about Ellis than what we had at pass rush last year. And then you just hope that we're going to see more and more growth out of Bonito, who has always been a great pass rusher, but he's more of a slight-framed guy and struggled against stopping the run. So we need to see that this week. And then other fantastic news, without gloating about other injuries, is that the Bucs are struggling defensively and offensively with injuries. And so the big thing for us to win on Sunday is we have got to get our running game going. We know that our running game has been abysmal, and I have some stats to prove that it might not actually be completely on Javonte Williams, and we'll talk about that in a second here. But they are most likely going to be without Vita Vea, who missed practice again today, Thursday. It seems like Tampa is looking completely past this game. It's one of the biggest spreads in the NFL. We're 7-point underdogs, and it's a non-conference game for them. And so you could see a world where they're like, if he's on the fence, let's not play him. He had an MCL injury just like Mike McGlinchey did, and McGlinchey's already ruled out the next 4 games. And so I'd be very surprised to see Vita Vea, which means that we should have zero excuse already. Even with Vita Vea, this defense is not as good as the Steelers defense this defense just let up 470 yards to the Detroit Lions. Also missing today's practice is Calijah Kancey, who they picked in 2022, I believe, who's another high upside defensive lineman. And so for them to be out 2 defensive line starters, we should have no excuse. Even with Palchevsky stepping in there for McGlinchey, we should have no excuse but to get the running game going, which then I think can really get Bo Nix going. And then also seeing that they also had one of their offensive tackles also miss a game, or also missed practice today. He was working out on a side field, so he is a probable, but he's going to be hampered. So this team has already let up. Baker Mayfield's been sacked 6 times this season, 5 times just last week, and now to have offensive line issues that's a good sign for the Denver Broncos. So another great sign for the Denver Broncos is that our offense has just been so bad, and we've played like D- games, and even playing D- games, we've still been within one score of winning both times. So it's not like our D- effort leads to us getting blown out. And to me, that just is a sign that if we fix a few things and incrementally improve at a couple of our weaknesses, that'll be great. Sean Payton came out and fell on his sword today and talked about one of the things that they are going to change is all of the crazy pre-snap variables and like the hockey type line changes where you have 5 new players coming in and just the all that and what that means for Bo Nix to manage, meaning that when he gets to the line, he's a supercomputer. That's his superpower. Like he can dissect offenses by looking at it, and he's getting to the line with no time to do that. And Sean Payton is saying that he's reducing the variables, simplifying this playbook, and not because Bo Nix is dumb, but just because he's a rookie. Let's not throw everything at him. And so I think that with the fact that we are playing against not as good of a defense is a very, very good sign for us. Another great piece of news that has come out as we look at the different advanced analytics and find ways to celebrate and ways to be concerned. One thing that I think we have not seen the Bo Nix that we all had hoped we would see, but one of the things that's fantastic is that this website breaks down quarterback-caused sacks. And we know last year Sean Payton was so upset because he felt Russell Wilson was the cause of a lot of his own sacks. And just looking here, this is giving you a percentage of how often the sack was on the quarterback for holding the ball too long or rolling into pressure or whatever. And it's amazing to not even see our rookie quarterback, who's struggling so mightily and people are already saying was a bust, right? To not even see him on this list, partially because he hasn't been sacked enough to even be here, and then partially because the ones that he have certainly not been his fault. Speaking of not been his fault, it's been really easy to jump off of Javonte and say, hey, put Jaleel in there, put Beatty in there. It's Javonte's cooked. He's not the same running back anymore. But I thought this was a pretty interesting thing that Javonte Williams is the only running back in the league who is running against a stacked box over half of the time. And he is considerably above that. So no other running back has run against a stacked box in 50% of their runs. Javonte is running at it 64% of his runs almost, which is just very, very difficult. You're talking there are more dudes in the box than you have blockers, and that's going to be tough for anyone. We talked a few episodes back how it's going to be really important that when you are facing a stacked box, the answer to a stacked box is a play-action pass. And so you got to think that Sean Payton, the offensive genius that he has said he is and that a lot of people have said he is, will adapt to that, and we'll see a lot of play-action. Also knowing that, again, like I've said, this defense is not as good as the Seattle defense we played week 1 and not as good as the Steelers defense last week, obviously. Other great advanced analytic that has come out is just the fact that our defense is legit. And our defense is a top 10 defense in the league. I think when I had come out early in the season and hyped them up as that, people were like, that's a homer take. But we're now seeing the advanced analytics that we are 4th in the number of passing yards we allowed in a game. What is the strength of this Tampa Bay offense? It is their throwing game. And so this lines up perfectly. Yes, Tampa Bay is a 2-0 team, but their strength is also our strength. And we are great against defending the pass with an elite corner on one side. And Riley Moss, you guys, has been shockingly good, only having started 2 games. And people just talk about, if he's already this good after 2 games, just wait until he starts getting that half step faster because he just knows how to read the offense. And if you just look at total yards per play, we're 7th in the league there. And then we are 10th in I don't even know what an EXP is, and then our tackles for loss were also 11th in the league. So just fantastic news there that our defense is up to the task. Our strengths line up with their strengths. And then before we just keep throwing Bo Nix under the bus and saying he is washed, the fact that he has not been to be blamed for his sacks, and he's so far down the list of quarterbacks who've been sacked, this is the percentage of time that they're throwing from a clean pocket. And you're just looking right here. Bo Nix, he's not where you want to be. We want to be up here. And where Baker is, That's, we're hoping we drop him with our pass rush this week, that we drop, these dudes switch spots, and that has got to be the hope. Last piece of good news, not gloating about anything, but we know we need any advantage we have and can have. We know that this offseason, Justin Herbert really struggled with plantar fasciitis and a plantar fascia injury. That was the same injury that kept Peyton Manning out a ton of the season of our Super Bowl run, and he did not practice again today, and he's going to be questionable for their game against the Steelers, so that would just be great news for the Broncos if the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Chargers, and if we want to make the playoffs, we've got to finish second in our division at least, and this will help that be a lot easier. Either way, I think this is a great matchup for the Denver Broncos. It's also my birthday weekend, and so I feel like the Broncos owe me on that, right? It's the least they can do, and we've got a ton to believe in. Come on.